Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a full slate of updates to cover, including Trae Young's passionate reaction to the NBA's MLK Day scheduling, the disrespect that was shown to several Hawks players in the latest NBA 2K ratings. Some of those have been revealed. We haven't gotten all of them yet, but it's very disrespectful, to say the least, so we're going to talk all about that. Also, why the national media believes the Hawks could be the team that shocks the world this season. And of course, we're going to look into the ever intense rivalry between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. It's been a very good rivalry in the past, but this season there's significantly more stakes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about how, as Atlanta Hawks fans know, MLK Day is not just another date on the calendar. It is part of Atlanta's DNA. The Atlanta Hawks, representing Dr. King's hometown, have historically been featured on this holiday. I mean, for good reason. That is why last season caused so much frustration among fans, and when instead of celebrating in Atlanta, the Hawks were scheduled to play the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. Very weird, and they said it was due to scheduling conflicts, but still just a very odd thing. The decision was met with widespread confusion just across the NBA and people who follow it. No one was more vocal about it than Hawks all-star point guard Trae Young. Trae did express his disappointment last year when the announcement was made, emphasizing how important it was for Atlanta to host the MLK Day game. Thankfully, the NBA has corrected its course. The Hawks will be playing on MLK Day this season. They're going to host the MLK Day game against the Milwaukee Bucks at State Farm Arena. When the news broke, Trae Young himself made his feelings very clear. His social media post gathered over 2,000 likes and nearly 50,000 impressions, with Young writing, "The fact that we were ever away on this day is crazy to me, but hey, the NBA did the right thing this year." I mean, Trae has always been willing to advocate not just for himself, but for the city he represents. I mean, he's the face of the franchise. And when you factor in the season he just had, 24 points, 3 rebounds, and league-leading 11.6 assists per game across 76 appearances, Trae continues to show why he's the face of the franchise and why his voice carries the weight it does. The Hawks are back at home for MLK Day, and it's safe to say both the team and the fans are thrilled about it. I can't wait for the season to get started and then eventually get up to that game. Hopefully, that's a high-stakes game between the Hawks and the Bucks. I know the Bucks are certainly projected to take a step back this season, just because of the roster that they have outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's really not good, but the Hawks should have a good record by then, and so hopefully that can be another momentum game. And maybe we can get those MLK uniforms back next season. So now let's shift gears and talk about something that always sparks debate this time of year. It's not the driest part of the offseason anymore. I think we've gotten past that. But we are at the point where people are just anticipating the next season and just really what their team can do and if they can, prove something to the rest of the league. But the topic that we're talking about is NBA 2K ratings. And unfortunately, the Atlanta Hawks have once again been disrespected. Let's start with Jalen Johnson. So coming off of a real breakout season where, he only played 36 games, but he averaged 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Just very good stats. Johnson has been handed an 81 overall rating. That's ridiculous. That's actually a step down from last year, despite the fact that he was one of the league's most improved young players before his injury that set him down for the rest of the season. Here's where it gets crazy. To make matters worse, he shares the exact same rating as second-year player Alex Sarr. Are you kidding me? Sarr just had a rookie season that wasn't very good. He's an inside player who does not score efficiently from the inside. It's pretty ridiculous considering what Johnson's proved in the limited action that he's played. He's also 1 overall lower than Cooper Flagg, who is a rookie who has not stepped foot on an NBA floor yet. Cooper Flagg is an 82. Jalen Johnson is an 81. Jalen Johnson was a guy that Cooper Flagg was actually drawing comparisons to in his draft process. In the draft cycle, they were saying he plays a lot like Jalen Johnson. And then in his first season in the NBA, before he's even stepped onto the floor, he has a higher NBA 2K rating than Johnson himself. That certainly doesn't add up. Dyson Daniels is another head scratcher. After winning Most Improved Player and finishing second in Defensive Player of the Year voting as a guard, which is very impressive, he probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year if Marcus Smart didn't ruin Defensive Player of the Year voting for guards probably forever. Daniels has dropped from an 85 overall to an 83 83 overall. He finished the season last year as an 85 overall. Now he is an 83 overall heading into next season. This feels like a massive oversight, especially when you consider how important he was on both ends of the floor last season, and he's only gotten better over the offseason. He's going to be a much improved offensive player next season, and also if he improves anything defensively, we're talking about best defensive player in the world. That's how dominant he was on the defensive end last season. Looking at the front court, Onyeka Okongwu sits at an 81 overall, which is fair enough, given his consistent production. I don't have any complaints there. I think 81 is probably a pretty good rating. But Kristaps Porzingis, the NBA champion and the dude who's coming off of one of the best seasons of his career, he is just an 85 overall. That feels low for a player that is obviously coming off of the best shooting season of his career. He shot career splits from three-point range, and not to mention to the fact that he is a proven champion just 2 seasons ago. And as for Trae Young, his official rating has not been revealed yet, but given how 2K has historically underrated him and really the national media in general, Hawks fans should brace themselves for disappointment. I don't know how many of you guys played 2K. I haven't actually got on that game in a good while, but nonetheless, Trae is probably going to get disrespected. I just see it coming. Hopefully the numbers at least reflect the reality of a player who's finished top 3 in assists almost every season of his career and was once again the engine of Atlanta's offense. It's a reminder that while 2K ratings do generate headlines, they don't always capture the full picture of a team's talent, and if anything, it gives the Hawks even more fuel heading into this season. I don't think players really care about it that much. They shouldn't, but it is a thing that does drive engagement and traffic, and it's a talking point, to say the least. And players when they see they're disrespected in any way, it gives them some sort of motivation. So now, while video game ratings might be selling the Hawks short, national analysts who have started to take notice of what this franchise have built have been pretty loud this offseason. In fact, Bleacher Report's Mo DeKill went as far to say that the Hawks could shock the world this season. Let's look at why. I mean, first, Atlanta pulled off one of the biggest trades of the summer, acquiring Kristaps Porzingis in that 3-team deal. Porzingis adds a dimension Trae Young has never had before. A true pick-and-pop big, a proven NBA champion who can stretch the floor while also protecting the rim. A massive improvement from Clint Capella, who has been in his center for several seasons now. And now Capella is in Houston. Then came free agency. The Hawks landed Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 4-year, $62 million contract, giving them another strong two-way wing who shot nearly 38% from 3 last season. Just an all-around great player. They also signed sharpshooter Luke Kennard on that 1-year deal, instantly improving their perimeter spacing. The Hawks were towards the bottom of the league in three-point percentage last season, and Trae had them towards the top of the league in shot quality. So those things obviously don't mesh, but with this newly improved three-point shooting team, the Hawks could have the best offense in the NBA. I don't think that's ridiculous to say it. The draft night trade might have been the most impactful of all, though. By trading now from number 13 to number 23, Atlanta acquired that 2026 first-round pick from New Orleans. That will be the most favorable between the Pelicans and the Bucks. Just an unreal asset to have. There's a very real chance that pick could land in the top 5, maybe even the first overall pick next season in a stacked draft class. That's honestly going to be better than the 2025 draft class. I mean, that's the kind of forward-thinking move that really sets a franchise up for not just now, but for the future. I mean, combine all of this with the development of Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, and Zachary Ricochet, and you start to see why the national media is buzzing. The Eastern Conference is weaker than it has been in years, and Atlanta is built with the right mix of youth, defense, and star power to make a legitimate run. And so I do agree with this reporter that the Hawks could shock the world this season, and we're all going to be here for it, and I can't wait to get the season started. Of course, the Hawks do have a little bit of a history of not meeting the expectations necessarily, but if there's ever a season to flip that narrative, it's this one, with the Eastern Conference as weak as it's ever been. And finally, speaking of the Eastern Conference, let's talk about a rivalry that continues to define Atlanta's place in the Eastern Conference: Hawks versus Knicks. The modern chapter of this rivalry began in the 2021 playoffs when Trae Young silenced Madison Square Garden and propelled Atlanta to the Eastern Conference Finals. Since then, the back and forth between these two franchises has been one of the NBA's most compelling storylines. Definitely one of the most entertaining, just the back and forth between the two franchises. Fast forward to today, and both teams are once again contenders in the East. The Knicks have retooled around Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and while the Hawks have surrounded Trae with more defensive-minded wings, great shooting, and the addition of Kristaps Porzingis, the NBA clearly knows the entertainment value here. Everyone's going to want to tune in for Hawks-Knicks at any given point, and they've already begun promoting Atlanta and Trae Young's return to Madison Square Garden as a marquee matchup for the upcoming season. As Steve Ashburner put it, it's one thing when these teams face each other down in Atlanta, quite another when Trae Young and his teammates hit Madison Square Garden. And I mean, no disrespect to the atmosphere at State Farm Arena, because it is very good and I think it's very underrated, but it's another level when we're talking about Madison Square Garden. Those games are ridiculous. Trey remains the villain in New York, much like Reggie Miller once was, and with both teams eyeing a deep playoff run, both teams really eyeing a finals appearance. Both teams want to make it out of the Eastern Conference this upcoming season. I mean, every meeting this year will feel like it carries playoff level stakes. So don't be surprised if this rivalry extends beyond the regular season and into the playoffs once again, potentially even with a trip to the conference finals on the line. I think they met in the first round a few years ago, but this year they could meet again, maybe in the conference finals. One thing for sure, Hawks versus Knicks is must-watch basketball. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. We covered a lot, from Trae Young's successful push to bring the MLK Day game back to Atlanta, the questionable 2K ratings that continue to undervalue this roster, national analysts starting to see the Hawks as a real threat in the East, and of course the renewed rivalry with the New York Knicks. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. We're going to be bumping out videos every single day for you, keeping you informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Zach Langley, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.